do this video once. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, my state capital. It's very late right now, and I wasn't planning on making a video about this, and I don't know what I'm going to say, but I know I need to say something. Seeing neo-Nazis marching through Harrisburg, a place I'm very familiar with, and telling black people, if you're black, we're going to send you back, and we're going to deport you back to Africa, is really troubling. And I am very connected to this topic. Being from a very white, poor, rural town in the middle of nowhere, where I heard these sentiments expressed by many individuals who were not openly neo-Nazis. Some of them were former skinheads, but many adults where I grew up are very aligned with the viewpoints of those who marched in our state capital. I often heard growing up, in bars, you can still hear when NBA comes on, when a basketball game or whatever comes on the TV in a bar, and you hear people say, hey look, the monkeys are running around again. Or you hear people say that black people have extra muscle in their legs and they have a warrior gene, so they're more aggressive and better at sports. Or you hear people say that all black people are lazy and they're closer to animals. I heard this growing up very often. I've heard that rap music is a tribal music. I've heard we need to send them back. There's a lot of pain and frustration in poor white rural communities, and I've seen all of that, including the side that is drug addiction and depression and loneliness. I've seen all of these issues connect and intersect. So when Donald Trump rose to prominence, all of those issues in my head came together. And it's really hard to give a good description of what that means in my context and also the context of where we go with that information. Knowing how rural communities are, knowing what Pennsylvania is like, and knowing there are neo-Nazis marching in the street. Number one, talking about diversity and culture. Diversity is a strength, but diversity is not easy. And it's actually pretty normal for groups that are very homogenous, meaning an all-white group or a group of all one of any culture. Any country that has 99% of one ethnic population or culture or religion is going to have trouble initially integrating with other cultures. That is a fact. Diversity is very difficult, but it's one of the reasons America has been so successful as well. Diversity is going to be scary, especially for those in rural communities that have not had a chance to see the rest of the world, that have not had a chance to meet people from other backgrounds. These individuals from rural communities who have not met a gay person. They just get their feedback from TV. They get their feedback from dumb jokes that were passed down through generations. And by the way, we know the 60, 70, 80-year-olds in the bars. We know a lot of you were part of neo-Nazi groups from my hometown. That's not something you can hide forever. We could see you posting it on Facebook still. But the main point I want to get to is I don't think liberals or progressives have approached this issue perfectly. Liberals and progressives, including myself, are on the right side, but pretending like diversity is going to always feel good is not true. Diversity is very difficult, and there's a lot of benefits when you do achieve it. But what ends up happening is there's a lot of fear-mongering. And right now, with the rise of Donald Trump, and this is how he connects to it, we're losing all sense of reality. Focusing on the perception of immigration. If there was truly a situation where our country was being overrun by illegal aliens and you couldn't walk outside without being killed, raped, and murdered, they wouldn't need to spend so much time using words like that in order to dehumanize immigrants, to tell you that it's a real problem. The fact is, right now, the reason they use terms like illegal alien, the reason Donald Trump gets on his podium and he begins every speech with, World War III is happening. You can't go outside in America because it's a third world country, banana republic, Donald Trump said recently, very, intelligently.
And just as Daniel and others have said, I mean, our country's going to die.
He's like, he's like, you could tell his brain is working right here. He's like, what's a really bad negative word I can use? Our country's going
to die.
Not only is World War III going to happen and the world's going to explode, but our country's also going to die, because he just makes anything up that he wants to. If you really think about this policy issue, Donald Trump would not have killed the border bill that was bipartisan. It was one of the most conservative bills in American history. And if you follow a channel that says otherwise, and if anyone tells you that this bipartisan immigration deal was weak, then you are following news sources that cannot be trusted. This is one of the most conservative immigration bills written by one of the most conservative congressmen in the United States. And Donald Trump told his party to go against the immigration bill a few months ago because he wanted to run on the issue of immigration for the election. And he didn't want to give Joe Biden a win because he wants to play politics. He wants to make everything seem more dangerous and dire than it is. Donald Trump instantly goes to the suburbs and says, hey, white people, you should be afraid. The Democrats are going to bring in non-white people to the suburbs to make it very unsafe with these huge public housing buildings. All Donald Trump is doing is fear-mongering. He's trying to scare white people. He's trying to scare you. And when you hear neo-Nazis chanting, go back to Africa, we don't want immigration, we don't want, if you're black, go back, whatever they were saying. When you hear neo-Nazis saying this, I want you to be able to recognize that you are being fed faulty, untrue information about immigration. You are being fed untrue information, and they are using the words illegal alien. So you stop looking at undocumented people like they are humans, because they need you to dehumanize them in order for them to make it a political ploy, a political pawn. And you are falling into it. Regardless of your policy position on immigration, there is no reason for you to convince yourself that they are animals, or that every single undocumented person, and I make sure to emphasize that now, I didn't really understand it growing up, but now I really do, because if you pay attention to all of American history, and I've been moving along this path for a while, but now I'm very strict on it. And I'm very strict on people around me using this language. The reason they do it is because they want you to literally see humans as animals. They are not animals. These are people who are likely fleeing very dangerous situations. And when you have a random story about someone who is not an American citizen committing a crime, every single person who is not an American citizen still does not commit crime at a higher rate than Americans. And using those situations is politicizing a tragedy for furthering this political agenda. It does not logically follow that you would then have a mass deportation of 15 million people, which would not work from a funding level, from a policy level, from a human level. And by the way, 90% of the people that they want to deport are hardworking families in your community. We talk about things like giving illegals, because you can't say people, giving illegals a license. How dare we let them drive? Why are they driving? How about instead of thinking illegals, you realize that the world might not be like you think it is. The world might not be how they are telling you it is. Maybe instead of an illegal that's able to drive now, maybe that's a family. Maybe that's your neighbor driving to work to support their kids and being a member of your community who is currently being taxed without representation and taxed into Social Security and other government programs they cannot benefit from. Maybe just have a little bit of humility and think about what you might be missing. And think about the connection between Charlottesville and Donald Trump and the reason that neo-Nazis are much more proud and emboldened, and they are a lot more likely to be in public now. More public facing, they're spreading a message of the same thing. But now it's hard to have a conversation about literally anything because of Donald Trump's brand of fake reality politics and propaganda. We talk about crime being at a low point in American history, and all of a sudden those stats are fake if it's Joe Biden. The polls, if it says Trump's in the lead, they're good polls. If it says that someone else is beating Trump, they're bad polls. If the election was won by Democrats, Democrats stole it. Although in 2020, Donald Trump tried coupping the U.S. government. Like, Trump tried stealing the election, but he accused Democrats of that. Donald Trump said that Kamala Harris had AI crowds because he's really insecure about her having bigger crowds than him. And when someone asked Donald Trump about it, he said, I can't confirm who or who wasn't there at the rally. Even confronted with very basic facts, Donald Trump cannot admit he's wrong about literally anything, and he'll make anything up. He's literally becoming pro-choice right now on Truth Social for political reasons because he says anything. Donald Trump said the stock market went up because he was in the lead for president. Then he said there was a Kamala crash, as evidenced by my short. If it goes up, it's because of me. If it goes down, it's because of her. Around 1 week ago, the stock market went down a little bit and came right back. When it went down, Donald Trump said Kamala crash, Kamala crash, Kamala crash, blaming Kamala Harris becoming the nominee, saying that's why it crashed. It came right back, and guess what Donald Trump's saying now?
The only reason the stock market is up is because people think I am going to win. Did you ever hear that?
The polls are still going against Trump. The polls are going the opposite direction, my guy. It's getting worse for you. That's not why.
There was one day, a couple of weeks ago, when they weren't thinking that, and you saw what happened. This will be a 1929 style crash.
Do you see how Donald Trump will shape reality to fit whatever he needs at that time? Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and add a comment if you want to help me keep on stopping misinformation and disinformation, Mr. Information. Any narrative can be set for these issues. And that's not to say any side is perfect, but I know there is, and by any side I mean establishment media, legacy media, independent media, liberals, progressives, Democrats, Republicans, moderate Republicans. No one is perfect in their approach. But we have to note that the side that Donald Trump occupies is living in a completely different reality from us. And by us, I mean anyone who's paying attention to data, looking at the world, who doesn't deny COVID deaths. COVID killed, 1.2 million people in only 2 years. It was the number one cause of death in America, but people will laugh at that. If you're in MAGA, you'll probably regret getting the shot and all that, because you can make up your own reality, because they never cared about beliefs. Or now Donald Trump's saying he's pro-choice on Truth Social because he realized that it's bad for his campaign to be anti-choice. So now Trump's saying he's pro-choice all of a sudden. Like, literally, there's no beliefs there. He's just doing whatever sounds good politically. And that's dangerous when someone like that is so good at managing a cult and he's saying everything that anyone will believe. And there's an entire propaganda empire led by Elon Musk, X.com, every other website infiltrated by white supremacists who are purposely spreading disinformation and misinformation. And their main goal is to basically give doubt to everything. And I didn't even mention Donald Trump trying to coup the U.S. government. Donald Trump literally tried throwing away votes. He called the Georgia election officials and said, can you find me votes? And then Donald Trump led an insurrection on the Capitol in order to delay the certification of Joe Biden as president, because Donald Trump was trying to legally steal the election with an orchestrated coup in the backroom dealings with fake electors. And then the main point about that is X.com spreads fake news, but they claim everyone else is fake news. Is everyone else perfect? No. But X.com, anything you see on there, most of it is completely fabricated. You'll see stories about immigrants killing people, and these stories will be completely made up, and they'll go viral and be seen by 5 million people. And by the time the correction comes out, people have already seen it and made up their mind on how to feel on it. Donald Trump says Democrats stole the election. He actually stole the election. They're saying that Democrats are paying for psyops when neo-Nazis are storming my state capitol. And if everyone is going to be in a different reality, if everyone in, Make America Great Again movement is going to be in a different reality, my big outreach to you would be, if there's someone in your life who is completely dead set on these points of propaganda, they are in these social media algorithms and in these bubbles where they cannot see any other form of reality other than conspiracy theories, led by Elon Musk, Donald Trump, RFK, anyone. If they are in that mindset, do not waste your time trying to convince them. Plant seeds, give information when you can, but do not put a toll on yourself. Do not exhaust yourself. Do not exhaust your resources, mentally, personally, socially. Do not exhaust anything dealing with someone who is going to give you complete conspiracy theories. Many of These individuals will laugh in your face if you try to say this is a problem. They'll laugh in your face if you try to say, hey, Donald Trump changing the perception of reality and accepting white supremacists into his movement is leading to neo-Nazis more proudly representing themselves in public spaces. Someone might laugh at you for that. If you say tons of people died to COVID, which they did, they might laugh at you for that. If you say what the actual crime statistics are, if you say that it's irrational for someone to be mad about immigration, to be scared about immigrants, there's no way to fix that. Plant seeds, maybe someday that person will change their minds, but the number one goal we need to be focused on is getting people out to vote, getting everyone registered. There will be others who are not currently involved who will be involved, who can be involved if you reach out to them. You have friends who do not vote. You can reach out to them. If they believe in conspiracy theories, let them keep watching Joe Rogan or whatever. But try to get everyone out. Anyone above the age of 18 should be voting who can legally vote. Okay? Make sure you are doing whatever you can, especially in swing states, because this election is going to change the course of history more than any other election we've ever had in history for any country. And you have a chance, especially if you're in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, you have a chance to single-handedly influence history, the entire history of the human race in a huge way. Don't waste your time on someone who's not going to change, on someone who's stubborn, on someone who gets trapped in conspiracy traps. Go to where progress is actually possible. Do not carry this burden. It's not your fault the world's like this. We want to keep on making sure others don't get indoctrinated in the same way.